Welcome to Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff, and today we are going to have a discussion all about LTV Studios. With us is Diana Weir, who is the chairman of LTV Studios. But before I introduce Diana, I want to speak a little bit about philanthropy. Did you know that absolutely anyone can be a philanthropist? Yes, it's a big word, but if you give your time, your knowledge, and available resources, you too can be a philanthropist. No one is excluded. And of course, if you don't have the money right now to give, you give your time and your knowledge, and you are a philanthropist. Welcome, Diana, and thank you so much for joining us. And Diana, before we discuss a little bit about you, because you are a great philanthropist, let's talk a little bit about LTV Studios. I understand it began in 1992. How did this all begin?
The franchise companies, the LTV companies, Cablevision, now Altice, give part of their franchise fee to the municipalities to do public access. So when that happened, Fraser Doherty, who was the founder of LTV, decided that he would do it for the town and created a not-for-profit, which is LTV Inc., and started the studios. And we were first in a little studio up in Springs, and then the town gave us this land, or didn't give it, they leased the land to us at a very reasonable price, and they built these studios.
The town built the studios?
No,
or
Fraser built the studios.
Wonderful.
The town leases us the land, and then Fraser created the buildings. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful asset, I think, for the community. I'm very in love with being here all the time.
Well, and I agree. And I understand you were a volunteer way back then. Is that correct? You
Yes.
You were here when it all began. And well, what an honor to be able to interview you right now.
Oh, thank you so much. So it's changed so much, because as you look around, or if you look on our website at The View, it's so modern and technologically updated, and we can do so many things. And when we started volunteering, it was this studio, not so much equipment and fanciness, and there was a stack of video machines, you know, and we had a
Yes.
stack of tapes, and each tape was a show, and it was timed, and we had a timer, and you had to watch and say, okay, this show's over, click out, put in the next one. I mean, it was all so manual, but it was fun, and we felt like we were giving back to the community and in helping this new startup. But it's grown tremendously, and look, we have shows like yours now, which is a wonderful, wonderful asset.
Well, thank you.
And highlights great people who are doing good things. So we thank you for that.
The idea of successful philanthropy. The show is here to highlight everyone in the community and beyond who are engaged in philanthropy. Now, getting back to those days, I understand your daughter was also a volunteer.
Yes, she was.
This idea of philanthropy is generational always, and you and your daughter, I assume, are both acting philanthropists. I know you are, and I'm assuming your daughter is still involved.
Yes, she does, because she volunteered here, and she still does when we have events, and you know, we're putting up chairs. We all volunteer in many different ways, but I'm also in Kiwanis of East Hampton, and she is also a Kiwanian now, many years later, and helps with all the events because we raise money for children. And our focus is the children of East Hampton, helping them in whatever way we can.
And what was the programming like way back then in early 90s? What kind of shows did you have on LTV?
Well, Fraser Doherty, the original founder, and he had this show on until he retired, used to have a morning show starting at 5 o'clock in the morning, called Hello,
Really?
Hello. And he would get on and speak about the news of the day and what was going on in the town, very, very local things. And in those days, when we started filming and accepting films and different things, we had all the artists of those years when the town was being really driven by the arts community. So de Kooning's wife, I mean, we had Elaine Benson, who had Elaine Benson Gallery, and she would interview artists. We had fishermen and farmers that were working the farms.
How interesting.
Just
yeah.
Tremendous history. So those archives are very special. We have town board meetings from 32 years ago. So it really is a great archive for the future.
I heard you had 25,000 saved videos here in your
Yes.
archives. Have you seen most of them?
No. I do watch, and it is fun because now we've included cooking shows and this type of show and shows about all different things in the community. And that's really what public access is about. Public access is allowing the public to tell us what they do and show us what they do, whether it's cooking or farming or working or school or hospital. Hospital's very high on our list.
Stony Brook Southampton
yes,
Hospital.
Of course.
Yes,
Parish
and I'm on
Art
their board.
Yes, and I know, and I thank you. You're wonderful with the hospital. So all those things that people do in the community is what we want to highlight.
So in other words, one of my questions was going to be what constitutes good local TV? And what you're saying is that good local TV is a forum for the people that live there to highlight the people and the good work that they do, and then also to promote philanthropy and to help the government and to help everyone, I guess, yes. Right? But you answer it for me.
No, you're absolutely right. The arts community that doesn't
Which
have
so
Bay Street Theater,
you
know, all the different things, the Sag Harbor Cinema. We did a Monday night series together with the Sag Harbor Cinema. There was a movie night. So every night, Sag Harbor would pick a movie and we'd show it, and it was sponsored by them. So all those things, you know, they had a lot of different movies, you know, that you don't see in the regular movie theater. So it's always about what's going on in your community and how can you help highlight that and promote that.
Which is really wonderful. Now you do a lot of government programming, I see, and I think that's very important. And
yes.
And do they come to you, or do you reach out to them, or is this just something that you've worked on for years and years together? And I'm assuming it's a great service to the community because we all learn a little bit about our local government, correct?
It is. Well, how it works is that the franchisor, who's in this case now Altice, used to be Cablevision, they give each municipality 2 stations free. Okay. One station is government and education, and the other station is public access, where we do all these types of shows. The government channel, we tape live every town board meeting, the zoning board, the planning board, the trustees, the architectural review board, both in the town and the village, and all the schools. If schools have board meetings for their particular school board, we produce them and broadcast them live. So this is a way for the community to get involved and know what's going on.
I think that's a great thing.
On our channel here that we're on today, we can also do politics. So we've done all the debates, whether it's for Congress or for the local or for state or governor, we can have debates here. So it's a forum for the community to also present those types of things, candidates. They can't raise money, you know, we're a not-for-profit, but all those things that are valuable that you need to know is something that we give the community. So,
which is really so important, because when you live in a community, you obviously want to know what's going on in that community and what your government officials are doing. And I think it's very important that we have that access. And I thank LTV Studios and LTV TV for doing all of this. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic, and all of us have truly been hit by this terrible, terrible pandemic, and with so many millions and millions of people across the United States out of work and so many problems and so much fear. What have you done? And I understand that LTV had a show every single day during the pandemic, and now that the pandemic has sort of slowed up a little, we have fewer and fewer cases. I understand that you're doing it once a week, but tell me about what was the program all about?
It was a shock to the system because now we had to be separated. People were locked in at home or staying at home to be safe and to protect themselves and others.
Sure.
And that meant the town board meetings where they all sit at the thing and everybody comes and sits in the audience now couldn't happen. So our staff jumped on this issue and immediately were able to do sort of a Zoom meeting so that the town board members could have their town board meetings right from their homes and discuss live, just like their regular meetings were, all the issues, and people could call in. I mean, it was amazing. We were the first town to do that, so I'm very proud of the staff here. And then, because the news was constantly changing, and sometimes the other stations, the regular stations, they do more broad-based. Well, this team here started a show called Facts at 5, and every day at 5 o'clock for 15 minutes and then a guest shot for another 15 minutes, they gave all the information on statistics for East Hampton, the hospital, our hospital in Southampton, not all the hospitals in the area. So it was wonderful and very well received. So we ran that for about 2 or 3 months. And then as it slowed down, well, then we switched it to lesser time.
Once a week.
And we interviewed the supervisor every week. We interviewed the assemblyman, the senator, our congressman. I mean, it was constant information live right to the people in East Hampton. So we were very proud of that.
Very, very important. And I understand that I've been here when you rented out the space to different groups. I actually recently in February, just before the pandemic began, I was here for the Ellen Hermanson Foundation. They had a big party here, a fundraiser. It was a lot of fun, and there were different performances, I remember, because you have a stage in a building, and it was absolutely wonderful. So this place is available to rent out for individuals. Say I wanted to have a big party, which I can't do now.
Right.
But say in a year from now, hopefully when this pandemic ends, I could rent the space out, or my family could, or anyone could. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We have a great facility here. We have 3 studios, Studio 1, 2, and 3. And one of them is what we call the big black box, which is where you saw that event. And we can transform that into many different things, you know, with decorating, just like we can do here with the way the studio looks.
And you had great lighting, I remember.
Yes.
Any kind of lighting you wanted.
Yes.
And of course, you're a TV studio, so you should have great lighting, right?
So all those things, yes. So we do a lot of that. Like I said, we had a debate last year, or early this year, for the candidates. And we're one of the largest facilities. We can hold 300 people. There aren't many places in town that have that capacity. So it was wall to wall. It was a great debate. People had a wonderful time, and it was broadcast live. So we have great potential and the ability to do many things, including rent and lease to anyone who wants to. We've had performers here that are musical performers. We have our...
Seen them, yes.
Yeah. So it's just wonderful. So we are available, and we'll be flexible and help anyone we can.
I love
That's
it
our
here.
job.
I feel like it's my second
it
home.
Is. But we love having you.
And so now, I also heard recently you hired an artistic director, and she's creating new programs. Is that correct? Or?
Yes.
Yes.
Her name is Angela LaGreca, and she used to be with The View.
Oh.
And she was a producer on The View and also with Meredith Vieira's show. And she has a home here, and she's producing a lot of different things to change the content, because you know we're on 24/7, 365. So your show, this show, gratefully we can play it 2 or 3 times a week. You know,
I think
so
you
you
show
get
it 4
different.
times
There you
a
go.
week.
I know that we do that. So we like to have new content. We like to have local people give us information and show things that are different and new in the community. And she's got a show called Who's Your Neighbor, where she knocks on the door and interviews 3 people and what they do. Stephen Gaines was on it. So I mean, just fun show. I think she's going to be doing a cooking show with some of the, we have a full kitchen that also allows
I've seen it, and it's absolutely
it's
beautiful.
Great, yeah. So we're trying to do what we can bring to the community, show them what's going on that's exciting and new and different, and who lives here, what do they do here, who are the philanthropists here, what are the not-for-profits, and what do they do to help the community. So we're so happy and proud to be able to do all that.
Well, that sounds like a fun show. So if I get a knock on my door one night,
yes,
and
look who's here.
with a microphone, I should say, "Oh, hi, Angela. I'm here. I'm ready for an interview."
Who's your neighbor? It'd be fun.
Let me go fix my hair.
Yeah, no, it'd be fun. It really is fun. So
that's interesting. But of course, she tells the people beforehand that she's coming
you know,
over.
that's
She
all
just
done.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not
And
like the old-fashioned full of brushmen who'd come knocking on your door trying to sell you whatever.
I know.
So now, this is so much fun, and I really enjoy being here. And I think that what you do for the community is absolutely extraordinary. Now, of course, you're a non-for-profit.
Yes.
Or not-for-profit, so you need
Yes.
to raise funds. Are you government funded or are you primarily privately funded? How does this all happen and how do you pay for everything?
Well, we try very hard, but we do. The Cablevision contract that the town has with the provider, the service provider, allows a part of that franchise fee to go to the municipality. Now, in this case, the municipality funds us with part of that franchise fee. So we get a portion of that money, and that's how we operate.
But then you still have to fundraise, correct?
Yes, yes, we do. We fundraise, we rent studio space, we rent these places. For example, we're very close with Guildhall.
Which I love, and we've
yes,
had on
so we
show.
work well with all the
Good.
not-for-profits out here. And Guildhall sometimes will want to do some practice for their shows and for what they do, and they need space. So we will sometimes rent them the studio so they can do their practice and their rehearsals and all the things that they need to do. So we work like that. We charge them minimally. You know, it's not something, it's almost a mutual thing. And we help that way. So that's how we end up raising a lot of our money. We also always ask anybody who would give us a donation would be wonderful. We always appreciate that.
And so now for our viewers, if you're enjoying LTV, which I'm sure you are, you can be helpful. Now, as I said before, a philanthropist, they can donate their time, and of course they can make donations. And for the viewers, she's going to give us the website in a minute. Diana's going to give that. But remember, even the small donations, $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, of course $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $1 million. It all adds up, and it allows this to continue. So, Diana, what is the website for our viewers to donate?
Very easy, ltveh.org.
ltveh.org.
And that stands for East Hampton, so local television access. Yeah, so
nice.
it's wonderful. And we've had volunteers here. We had a couple of comedy specials.
I want to learn all about your volunteers, because part of being a philanthropist is volunteering. Now, of course, if you're in a situation where you have absolutely no time, but you're making billions of dollars or hundreds of millions or millions of dollars and you want to donate, well, we'll give you the title of philanthropist too. But for those who don't have the resources, and right now with so many people out of work, it's difficult. How can we help here? What can we do to be volunteers?
Well, we have volunteers. When we have events, we had a couple of fundraising events that Angela and the team here coordinated. And, you know, putting out chairs, changing things, getting tables ready, all those things, taking tickets at the door. Normal things that aren't really hard labor, you're not digging pools, but that helps us when we have events or we have 200 or 300 people is always a tremendous help for us. So
good, and you have something called LTV Salon. What is that exactly?
Well, before the pandemic, probably about once a month or every 2 months, we'd have a salon, which is a very laid-back evening. People $10, $20 donation. They come in. We had comedy acts. We had readings. Joy Behar was here doing readings of some of the plays she's writing. Musicians that would come and, you know, play music. And those evenings were fun because it was all different stuff, very loose.
Fun.
And, and it was hosted by Angela, and they were great. But of course, the pandemic put a stop on all gatherings like that. But they were fun, and we very much enjoyed them.
So do you have any fundraisers planned moving forward or anything like the salon? In terms of timing, what are we looking at? What do you think? Or actually, I guess we don't know. With this pandemic, we know nothing right now.
Exactly.
And hopefully we won't have a second wave in the fall.
I hope not.
I hope not either.
And we look, I mean, we're planning, a lot of organizations are doing different things. You know, they're doing fundraisers on Zoom. But we do have a very small staff. We only have about 5 or 6 people here that run this. And
seems like a lot more when I'm here.
I know, and they do an amazing job. I
job.
marvel at what they do, really. And we have a lot of part-timers that do all our evenings, that do the town board meetings, that are videographers that set up and do all the meetings live. So there's not a huge staff to do that. So sometimes we need volunteers or people who want to be philanthropists and maybe host little fundraisers for us at some point. But with the pandemic right now, we've said we'd rather be safe and maybe give the community information like this and the Facts at 5 that we did. So we really want to know that we're reaching out and doing stuff community-based.
Yes, and I've noticed that you've been extraordinarily careful with everything. And when you come into this building, you must have a mask on. They have hand sanitizer out, and everybody's watching you, making sure you don't take your mask off. Of course,
and you're 6 feet apart.
We're 6 feet apart, yes. And I think it's all so important. And I think right now, with this pandemic, we know so little. We don't know what the future is going to bring, and actually no one does. So we have to all be very careful and continue to follow government guidelines, which are mask, social distance, and keep washing your hands. And it's not so terrible, and we'll survive. We'll get through this, and we need to support one another. Tell me a little bit about you, Diana, outside of this. Right now, it's such a difficult time, and we have to show compassion. And you mentioned that you're involved with other charities. You mentioned something called Dress for Success.
Yes.
What is that all about? And I don't want to get off the subject of LTV studios, but I think right now with this terrible pandemic, we need to show compassion. And any one of us, we think, well, I can't do anything, but we all, about clothing, giving away clothing, right?
Yes,
that someone else might be able to use for a job interview or for work.
That's exactly what we do. We do
Dress
a makeover, mini makeovers with donated clothing, and people donate.
This is Dress for Success.
Yes. People donate the most amazing things, tags on, never used, Ralph Lauren, Michael Kors, shoes. So we have 50 volunteers there. These are women that go through the clothing, make sure we pick the appropriate things that are still in good condition, that are very special. And we outfit women for their interviews, because some of these women are very poor, or they're coming from conditions where they don't have proper business clothing, right? And they leave, and it's all free of charge to them. They leave $1 million. We have before and after pictures. So that's a great charity. And we also do job training, career placement training.
Nice. Well, maybe I'll have a representative from Dress for Success like you or someone else on the show.
Yeah.
And as we know, LTV Studios is servicing this entire community. And with us, I have Diana Weir. She's the chairman of the board of LTV Studios. She does an extraordinary job, and this group does a great job. Diana, if I wanted to have this show every day, could I do that?
Yes, you could.
Thank you. And
you could. We're honored to have you. This is a great show.
Thank you.
We love it.
Well, I think any time that we can help one another and even be a voice for those that can't be a voice, it's something great, and that's what you do here at LTV Studios, which is just extraordinary. And I see also you have interns here from time to time. So if someone wanted to learn a little bit about TV operations, they could perhaps put in an application?
We do that with the schools here. We have a lot of time that we work with the schools, and they come and do their own little videos.
So the children come in?
Yes.
So you have an educational aspect for children, which I love, because we must focus on the next generation. If we don't teach young children to be philanthropists, we won't have them. So you're doing that, and
we do that as well.
And
we also do producer classes. So any member of the community who wants to learn how to use a camera, how to frame it, what to do to be able to produce a show, they can do a show on their own at home or anywhere, as long as it's processed properly and it follows all FCC guidelines, and we'll put it on TV.
Now, are you doing it now, the producer classrooms?
Yes, we have producer classes.
Are you doing
There's
it
a
virtually
schedule.
now, or?
Well, we haven't done it in a few weeks, but they will have a schedule where it comes on. Pandemic kind of, hurt a lot of different things.
Everyone.
But the producer classes are fun. You learn how to be a TV producer. You learn how to film.
I like that.
And it really is enjoyable. So you could do a cooking show at home and give it to us, and we would put it on TV. So that's the kind of things we want from the community. We want them to be out there doing things in Montauk, doing things at the fishing pier, doing things at the schools, the playgrounds, and give them to us. And we will.
I think it's
Put
wonderful.
them on TV. Yeah.
And what about fashion? I'm a fashion lover, and right now the fashion industry's had an incredibly difficult time. And you might say, well, who's out there buying clothing now during a pandemic? But quite simply, if we don't support the fashion industry, there are millions and millions of people, tens upon millions, in the entire world that lose their jobs because no one's buying anything. So maybe someday you'll do a fashion show, and maybe that'll be something I might get involved with because I'm a real fashion lover. We have a few minutes left. What else would you like to tell our audience about LTV that we haven't touched upon? You're such an interesting woman, a philanthropist who's done so much and truly loves the arts, and you love people. And
I do.
And I think that's the key also to being a philanthropist, if you love people. Philanthropy is the love of mankind and everything and every living being on this earth, and then of course the environment. So
exactly. We have
1 minute left.
We have a great show that Del Cullum does. He's one of our nature wildlife protector guys that goes out and saves animals and takes care of them. And he does a beautiful show on LTV as well. Our staff is amazing. And for people like you and Del Cullum, whether it's the environment or the ocean or cooking or shopping or whatever, we want to be there for the community to let them have their voice in anything they do. We love people. Everybody's worthy. So every charity, people are out there giving time, giving effort, giving their knowledge. That's wonderful because it really costs nothing but means so much to an organization. If you're an accountant and you can be on a board and help them kind of how to do the numbers, all those things are
I love it. This concludes Successful Philanthropy. Thank you so much for joining us, and we thank Diana Weir, Chairman of LTV Studios, for joining us. See you next week.